Samara's win rate has dropped below 50%, but she's still OP. Amumu might actually be the most broken jungler in the game, and losing 5 damage has cost Karthus everything. Fiora and Darius are even more broken now than before, and high ELO players are distraught, some even lost. You know the drill, guys. It's time for another ProGuides high ELO tier list, and this time is for patch 10.22. And for our question of the day, we're just wondering what you guys thought of the Worlds match. Who are you rooting for, and were the results what you expected? We're dedicated to making you guys better players, and now we're going to include a ProGuides guarantee. If you do not climb 5 divisions within 5 months, we'll give you 5-month membership for free. That's how confident we are, so make sure you check out our website. And that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. First up in the top lane, we had a couple of changes this patch. As expected, Lulu was nerfed this patch because of her power in high ELO. Lulu has been a sleeper pick, rather popular in Korea's solo queue, but missing in action on other servers. To balance her, Lulu's Q damage was reduced from 80 to 260 to 80 to 220. 40 less damage when maxed is a huge nerf, and Lulu will be a much weaker lane bully than before from level 3 onward. We've gone ahead and moved Lulu down to the B tier this patch. In spite of impressive win rates, it's clear that this nerf has hurt Lulu quite a bit. Lulu used to be a much safer pick, but with this nerf it's a lot harder to blind pick Lulu. Her safety during draft phase was one of her greatest strengths, and with that gone, she feels a little bit more like a niche pick. While we do think Lulu is still a powerful pick, she's not a champion that you should opt to pick in every single game. You'll need to be more careful and instead pick her up only when you know you have a safe lane matchup, like against a more immobile champion. Next is Nasus. His ultimate's bonus resistance was increased from 15 to 55 to 40 to 70. However, he no longer gains resistances with every second. This is a buff for his level 1 ultimate, leaves his level 2 ultimate around just as strong, and a situational nerf for his level 3 ultimate. What we've seen in high ELO is that his win rates has increased quite a bit in the platinum and higher. However, in elite levels of play, his win rate has dropped. Our analysts do think that it's still a little bit early on in the patch and that his win rates will slowly stabilize as the patch plays out. Overall, this buff has left Nasus much stronger for the majority of high ELO players. The fact that his level 6 power spike grants him 25 more armor immediately is a world of difference in extended fights. It's much more common to see Nasus players solo kill their opponents with this buff, surprising as that may sound. In contrast, Nasus has moved up our tier list, going from the C tier to the B tier. And with that being said, our OP picks for the top lane are still the same as last patch, as we've got Darius and Fiora followed up by Camille, Shen, Urgot, Malphite, and Hecarim in the S tier. We made a couple of shifts this patch, moving Malphite into the S tier this time around and pushing Wukong into the A tier. Malphite has been dominating solo queue across all ranks with his immense tankiness as well as damage. He has a very easy time diving the backliners and in spite of his class deals a ton of damage, rocking their world. Wukong has been seen less and less play. Since he's still doing well, this isn't an easy decision, but his low play rate hints that the fact that he simply isn't as strong as he once was. If there's a pick to watch out for, it's Kayle. She's slowly showing that she's got what it takes to carry games. While Kayle's win rates in elite levels of play are only slightly above average, her win rate in platinum and higher has climbed over 52% this patch. We think that she's being slept on right now, and players should just look for opportunities to pick her. You'll want easy matchups for sure, but when you have the counter pick and you see the chance, go ahead and give her a try. And that's going to be it for the top lane. Let's head into the jungle next. Out in the jungle, Karthus got nerfed this patch. His Q's damage was reduced from 50 to 130 to 45 to 125. This loss of 5 damage actually was very big for both his skirmishes as well as his jungle clear. High ELO players especially have been suffering a huge deal in response to this nerf. I know it just seems like 5 damage, but it really does come a long way. With a loss of damage on his Q, Karthus is a weaker pick in many regards. In platinum and higher, his win rate has dipped below 50%, but he still retains a pretty high win rate in elite levels of play. Considering all of this, we decided to move Karthus down into the A tier from the S tier. Still a powerful pick, but not the same terror that he once was. Wow, what a difference 5 damage can make. Sejuani was buffed this patch, so let's go ahead and talk about her too. Her ultimate went up from 100 to 150 to 125 to 175 for a short range hit from 150 to 350 to 200 to 400 for the long range one. As our analysts expected from our initial patch rundown, Sejuani's win rate hasn't increased significantly. This holds true in high ELO. We're not saying that she isn't any stronger, but given the long cooldown on Sejuani's ultimate, the windows of opportunity to utilize this buff aren't very numerous. We'll be leaving Sejuani in the A tier for now. Amumu has got a very nice buff this patch. His ultimate was changed from a root disarm to a stun instead. While this was simply for clarity, these changes have led to an incredible surge in Amumu's win rates. Overall, he holds a 55% win rate right now, and in high ELO, he holds a 52% win rate. This win rate tapers off significantly in elite levels of play because of his exploitable early game. However, once he hits level 6, he really comes online, and our analysts think that he's somewhere between A and S tier right now. A single change has created some magic for Amumu, and we'll be placing him in the A tier for this patch. Undoubtedly, this change has made Amumu's ultimate way more reliable. And that's going to be it for the changes, but we've got some shifts to cover this time around. First up for our OP picks, the King has made his return. Everyone's favorite assassin Cockroach is now the OP pick for the jungle this patch, sporting a 52% win rate in high ELO. Excluding the data to elite levels of play, he still stands with similar results. Nerfs here and there have led Kha'Zix's emergence in the jungle. His high damage output and ability to one-shot isolate a target makes him a solo queue superstar and a total menace. Of course, this means that we have moved Evelynn into the S tier as a result. The only other change that we made is that we moved Lilia to the A tier. Players are getting the hang of her, and her ban rates have been climbing above 20% in high ELO. She's proven to be quite a nuisance and carries a ton of potential, and has potential to carry a ton. Thus, our OP picks for this patch is Kha'Zix followed by Graves, Nunu, Kayn, Rek'Sai, Elise, Fiddlesticks, Hecarim, and Evelynn in the S tier. And that sums up our jungle picks, so let's go ahead and move into the mid lane. Zed was nerfed this patch, and for good reason. He's way too strong in high ELO, and he needed some attention for a while now. Especially in the hands of skilled Zed players, Zed has come out quickly on top of practically any 1v1 showdown. His kit is incredible for it, and he has some tricky mobility, high range on his ultimates, and a ton of damage to top it all off. Zed also doesn't need jungle assistance to win lanes, although having to play without it altogether might mean that he'll have to settle for farm lanes. His E's damage was reduced from 70 to 170 to 70 to 150. Losing this small portion of damage has actually dropped Zed's win rate quite a bit. It's dropped a little bit less than a whole percentage, and in a way that kinda makes sense. Zed's E is a very reliable source of damage, and because Zed relies so heavily on creating early leads as well as snowballing, losing even a little bit of damage on his abilities can potentially cost him some takedowns here. We move Zed down into the S tier this patch, as he's quite ironically living in the shadow of who he once was. Next up, LeBlanc was buffed. Her E's mana cost was reduced from 70 to 50, while her E's base damage went up from 40 to 120 to 50 to 130, and the delayed damage from 70 to 230 to 80 to 240. Ultimately, the increase of 20 damage and a lower mana cost has increased LeBlanc's win rate in high ELO by about 0.5%. The 20 damage actually does make a difference, especially in those close 1v1 encounters. Even the smallest numbers make the biggest differences for high ELO players, and this is a very clear case of it. However, we're going to be leaving LeBlanc in the A tier for now, as she's still not performing better than the picks that we have placed in the S tier. Brand's passive explosion was adjusted. Instead of dealing with 12 to 16% plus 1.5% of every 100 AP, it now deals 10 to 14% of his target's HP plus 2% for every 100 AP. His E will always spread to nearby enemies as well, as his targets no longer need to be ablaze. The spread range was also changed accordingly to 375 to 300. When targets are ablaze, however, this spread range has doubled to 600. Finally, Brand can now bounce his R off of himself. These have been massive changes for Brand, and finally, rather than suffering as a subpar mid laner, Brand currently stands as a passable one. His win rate has shot up just slightly below 50%, so if you like playing him, it's not griefing to lock him in anymore. His laning feels much stronger with all these buffs that he's got, and it's easier for him to trade and clear waves and poke his opponents, and his level 6 is so much stronger as a result of the change to his ultimate. We moved Brand up to the B tier this patch. Thus, we conclude the mid lane running through our OP and S tiers. We have Fizz as our OP picks, followed up by Zed, Talon, Diana, Vladimir, Yone, Katarina, Karthus, Galio, and Ahri in the S tier. That's it for the mid lane, so let's go ahead and run through the bottom lane real quick. For the bottom lane, it's no surprise that Samira was nerfed once again. While she's been nerfed, it's also no surprise that she hasn't been losing many games. Players have been improving with her and pushing her win rate upwards. This patch, Samira's base AD was lowered from 59 to 57, while her base armor was reduced from 28 to 26. Yikes. These nerfs make it much more plausible to contest in the early laning phase and pick fights with Samira. Although, it's still kind of not a good idea to pick a fight with her. Also, her win rates have dropped about 1.5% following these nerfs. Her ban rates are still sitting at an incredible 75%, so maybe it's just bad luck. We still think that Samira is really strong right now, and in spite of these nerfs, we'll be keeping her in the OP tier. In spite of the lower win rate, Samira's objective strength is too much to ignore. Her mobility, damage output, and self-sufficient nature might make her one of the best solo queue picks in the game. Next is Xayah, who just got buffed. Xayah's attack speed per level was increased from 3.3 per level to 3.9%. As a result of these buffs, Xayah's win rate has increased a very underwhelming amount. She still doesn't hold a very impressive win rate, and we still think that she'll be one more buff away from the next tier. She's close though, so we'll be keeping her in the B tier for this patch. Next up is Ashe, who received an overall adjustment. Rather than always firing 9 arrows, Ashe's volley now fires 7 to 11 based on the rank of the ability. This change was supposed to change Ashe's power curve, and it's done a pretty good job. Overall, Ashe's win rate hasn't changed by much, but it's clear that her early game is a little bit weaker, while her late game is still a little bit stronger than before. We'll be keeping Ashe in the S tier for this patch. Finally, Jinx got a buff. Her traps now deal full damage immediately instead of always dealing damage over 1.5 seconds. Of course, this buff has increased Jinx's win rate. She has a little bit more burst damage than before, meaning that when her supports manage to make picks, Jinx is able to follow up with her traps for a nasty combo. We moved Jinx up to the A tier this patch as she's proving to be a powerful pick following this minor buff. She was always close, but this has been enough to push her into the next tier. For this patch, our OP pick is Samara, followed up by Caitlyn, Senna, Draven, Ashe, the Lux, and Sona duo, Miss Fortune, and Jhin in the S tier. That's all for the bottom lane, so let's go ahead and conclude with the support. The one support change that you all probably know about was to Annie. Annie's shield functions like a normal one now. It now shields 40 to 240 plus 40% of Annie's AP, and the biggest change is that now it can be casted on allies. However, the mana cost was raised from 20 to 40. It's already clear that players are now once again giving Annie's support a chance. Her play rates in the role have skyrocketed, and this patch she's also been doing quite well. With her power as a mid laner combined with her newfound potential as a support, Annie's value as a pick has increased substantially. We're leaving Annie unranked this patch because she's basically a new support, but we still think that she'll be making an S or A tier pick. Her ability to provide damage and now utility now opens up a ton of possibilities, including different drafts. Of course, anytime your team locks in all AD, you can go ahead and salvage a team comp by picking an AP champion like Annie. The final change that we made to this list is that we dropped Senna down to the A tier. She's not performing as well as she once did, and it felt like it was finally time to drop her down a tier. Currently, the meta features a ton of aggressive supports as well as Lulu. Senna scaling was hit some patches ago, and the fact that her lane opponents are able to exert so much pressure means that reaching her endgame fantasy is so much harder to get to than before. Thus, our S tier picks for supports this patch are Lulu, Thresh, Leona, Blitzcrank, Janna, Bard, and Morgana. That concludes our high ELO tier list for 10.22. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you guys can go ahead and get connected with us and stay up to date with all these videos that we release for you guys. The season is coming to a closest end, and we wish all you guys the best of luck in your rank climbs. I hope to catch you guys all in our next video. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.